Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mr. Hicks Podcast. We are here getting it in once again, time and time again. So we are talking about college football and some of the egregiousness that happened this weekend, especially my two favorite programs to pick on, and that is Miami and Texas. Now, here's my thing about Texas. One of the players, a guy named Moro Ajomo, actually called out his Texas teammates, and he called out the culture of the team over the summer. And for being honest and saying exactly what needed to be said, he was silenced. He was silenced by his coach. He was silenced by the administration, saying he said things that should have been kept in-house. But my problem with it is he said exactly what needed to be said. And he addressed something that I think programs like a USC, like a Miami, like a Florida State, that have a lot of history, that have a lot of good things going for them, but have not won at the level you would think that they would win, have had. So I want to give a brief overview. This is from Orange Bloods, and there's a quick snippet of what he said. He said, basically he was saying that his teammates were much more focused on the life of being a Texas football player than actually focusing and playing Texas football and winning games and trying to win championships. And, quote, they have to somehow see the 24-year-old, 25-year-old signing their second contract in the NFL for $50 million, as opposed to seeing the 20-year-old making $40K off of NIL, sleeping with women, drinking, and all that, as opposed to got to get that $5 million. And he said it's funny to him how dudes who have not seen the field, are not starting, have not really played significant time in 3 years, are talking about, I'm going to get the bag. I'm going to get this bread. And they're not focused on football. They have to realize that. And he said this multiple times. It's not going to happen just because you're talented. It's not, you can't be on autopilot and expect that your talent to go out there and win you football games, because that's the thing that's going to actually get you that bag you're talking about, is the performance, not the swagger, not the talk, your actual performance. And he was very candid and very straightforward, and people didn't like it. Of course, because it was accountability. And that's something that is sorely lacking in a lot of young people, and unfortunately in a lot of programs, not just the players, but the fans, the administrations, the boosters, certain programs. And I use Miami and Texas as specific examples because they're always talking about every single year, we made this change, it's going to change, we're going to win championships again. Is Texas back? Is Miami back? It seems like every year this happens. And I have a theory with this. You have two states that are rich with talent. And what is happening is, because these teams don't win at the level that they really should with the talent that's in their backyard, the best recruits in those states tend to not have a great deal of faith in those programs to develop them into NFL players. Texas actually had zero players drafted in the NFL draft this year. That is mind-boggling to me. But the other thing that's mind-boggling to me is the fact that they have done this multiple times in the last 5 years, had one or no players drafted into the NFL in a state where you have literally the most 4- and 5-star recruits coming out of them. But then what happens? Alabama comes into Florida and Texas, and Ohio State is famously went 3 years in a row and got the best wide receiver out of the state of Texas. So I know Jackson Smith and Jigba being one of them. It is important to understand that it's the work. It's not the talent. It's not the talk. It's not the swagger. And Ajomo made specifically mention of the fact that it's a lot of the players, it's about the girls, it's about the cars, it's about going downtown. Just imagine you're a Texas football player in the city of Austin on a Saturday night. You are not just the big man on campus. It's a huge campus. It's a national program. Everybody knows who you are. Everybody's watching you. And it's not happening for you because, like he said, they're on autopilot. They're not putting in the work. Ojomo was a transfer from Alabama. He knows what it takes. He knows the leadership. He knows that it takes accountability from the senior leadership. He has a senior leadership group on that team, and they talk about it, and they try to get the players to understand the kind of work that you need to put in to be successful and to win championships, and that's what's going to project you into the kind of success that you want to have in the NFL. And neither one of these programs is really doing that. So of course Texas loses to Texas Tech. This is the first time in honestly a very long time that I remember Texas Tech ever beating the Longhorns. And it wasn't a matter of, no, mind you, they did not have Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers was injured. Hudson Card started, but Hudson Card did not have a bad game. Hudson Card threw for 277 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson, 16 carries, probably should have had more of those, had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns himself. So the players that you expected to put up, they put up. They did not have a great passing game. Xavier Worthy only had 3 catches. And Texas Tech, and mind you, Texas Tech has a completely new coaching staff this year. So to see Texas Tech doing what they're doing, and they win this game at home, the crowd storms the field. Really great for them, and congratulations to Texas Tech and their new staff and the energy that they are bringing, and the offense that they're putting out. Put 500 yards of offense on the Texas defense. A Texas defense that really showed up against Alabama. Part of the problem. You showed up for Alabama when the lights were on, when you had the national media, when everybody was, College Game Day was there, a lot of important media figures were there to cover that game, and then Texas shows out, and then they go to Texas Tech and they lay an egg, and they lose to Texas Tech. And this is what happens. What happened to Texas? It happened to Texas A&M, where they will play really well and play the type of game that you are expecting from such a high caliber program with such a high caliber of recruits, and they are not mature. They don't bring it every game, and this is one of the things that Nick Saban talks about at Alabama quite a bit, where he wants you to bring the same energy, he wants you to have the same output and have the same level of focus, no matter who you're playing. And this is what I see out of Miami, and this is what I see out of Texas quite a bit. So I had it up here, Texas Tech, Miami. Miami lost to Middle Tennessee. So I am not watching the game. I'm doing some underwriting, and I get a text from my son. Said, "Yeah, Dad, you might want to check this out. Miami is losing to Middle Tennessee." And I was like, "Oh, how bad is it?" Thinking, okay, you got time. They're probably going to pull this out. And I said, "What's the score?" And he said, "It's 24-3 in the second quarter." I'm like, "Ooh, that's bad." So I'm thinking to myself, I got to watch this to see what people are saying. And I turn it on, and I see that Miami is just making defensive calls that are just on like sure running downs. They got 6 in the box. They're just basically disrespectful on a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. It is a clear running situation, and they're just getting run on. Miami's tackling was terrible. Their pursuit was terrible. And the fact that they gave up big pass plays, they had 3 or 4 pass plays over 40 yards were thrown against them by Middle Tennessee. And the biggest one that I recall seeing was Middle Tennessee was literally on their 2-yard line. They did a play action fake, and their wide receiver literally streaks by the Miami corner and just runs for a 98-yard touchdown pass. And I'm telling you, I lost it. I laughed till I thought I was going to throw up. And I'm like, this is the type of thing that I expected. It was like, you have so much talent on a place like Miami. And I really believe this, that they thought they were going to roll their helmets out there, and the name Miami on the front of the jersey was going to win them that game, because it was only Middle Tennessee State. You did not take them seriously. Texas did not take Texas Tech seriously. And this is a culture problem. And this is the reason why these programs have difficulty rebuilding. These are places that you would imagine you get the right coach in there, then they're going to be able to turn things around relatively quickly. And I want to say shout out to USC, because I believe USC is largely in the same boat. One of those places where you've got a lot of recruits right in your backyard. You should be able, with the right coach, to be able to turn things around very quickly. And I believe USC went all in, got the coach, got a bunch of transfers. Now, You may feel some type of way about the way those transfers got there. You might feel some type of way about bringing Addison from Pitt. The way that all went down, not great, but winning cures everything. And I believe he's going to have another great season. That Caleb Williams and the group of receivers and Mike Williams that they have there are going to be very successful offensively, and they got a shot. They got a shot at making the college playoff if they went out and if they do what I believe that offense is doing. Really amazing looking offense, really vertical, the way they spread the field, very talented on the edges. But back to my point, I believe in Texas and in Florida, there's just so many people that believe they know what they're talking about. So many alumni, so many coaches, so many high school coaches, so much influence pulling the focus away from actually winning football games and what should be done on the field. And I recall very specifically when Alabama was at this point before Nick Saban got there, it was very helter-skelter, and there was a lot of different voices. And when Nick Saban comes back with his national championship pedigree, with having coached in the NFL, having won a national championship in the SEC, it was one voice. And when boosters decided to come in and say, I think we should do it this way, Nick was like, I think you should sit down and shut up. Nick has a kind of cachet to do that type of thing even then. And he was able to get everybody on the same page and everything moving in the same direction. Does Mario Cristobal at Miami have that type of ability to focus those players? He's a fantastic recruiter. I think everybody knows that. Sarkisian, he is a great offensive coordinator. He's proven that time and time again. But what are they as head coaches? Steve Sarkisian has not been a great head coach. Mario Cristobal, while a great recruiter and a good head coach while at Oregon, there was a lot of questions as to whether he was getting the most out of those players, whether they were developing those players. Justin Herbert, a good example as to he's killing it in the NFL. As soon as he got away from Mario Cristobal and that offense, he goes to the Senior Bowl. He kills it. He shoots up the draft boards. He goes very high, and now he's one of the top young quarterbacks in the NFL. And there was none of that to be seen when he was the quarterback at Oregon. As a matter of fact, Josh Gaddis, the coach that was taken on at Miami, no one likes to talk about this, but I believe no one wanted that Miami offensive coordinator job. Several people supposedly were interviewed and turned it down because they believed that Mario Cristobal was not going to allow them to actually run the offense the way that they wanted to. You bring in Josh Gaddis, who had success at Michigan. By the way, that success took a long time. There were a lot of questions as to whether Josh Gaddis was the guy even there. And what is Miami getting out of that? Do they have the right quarterbacks? Van Dyke is at times looked great, but he's up and down. He was replaced by Garcia after he got hurt. Another very talented recruit. I don't think he was really the problem. I think the offensive, the blocking wasn't great. And again, like the running game, I don't think they ran for 100 yards as a team against Middle Tennessee. What are we doing? What we're doing is we're not focusing. We're not putting the same kind of effort and preparation in during the week, and that is the problem that I'm seeing. It's not Saturday, people. Everybody wants to win on Saturday. What are you willing to do to prepare? What is your focus on the week leading up to a regular game that's regular and regular on a program that you should beat? And this is why Texas falls at the hurdle. This is the reason why Miami falls at the hurdle. I also believe that Texas A&M has the same problem. Last year, they beat Alabama, and then they still managed to lose 4 games for that season. And I believe this is what happens when you have these places where you don't have a strong leadership and you don't have a strong voice guiding everyone and getting everybody on the same page. So this is what I believe is a problem at these programs. Hope it gets better. But in a way, I kind of hope it doesn't get better, because as long as, like I said, as long as people are doing stupid things in college football, guys like me are always going to have things to talk about. And quite frankly, I believe between Miami and Texas, they could keep the podcast, just blogosphere, going for ages, because you could just pay attention to them and watch when they fail, because they're going to. Because Texas is going to Texas. And now I think Miami is going to Miami. I'm enjoying it. I hope you are too. Take it easy.